What's going on, YouTube, fam? It's your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of Hood Tales, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. It's free. It helps get the video out there. Definitely watch this video to the end so you can hear the full story and all the details in the case. For my day one fam, y'all already know it's all love. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. If you're new to the channel and you're feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Definitely hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Oh yeah, feel free to share the channel with your peoples. Everybody is welcome. With that being said, let's get right into the story. When most people meet somebody they are interested in, we go all in. Especially if you feel this is a person you want a relationship with or even a friendship. Of course, when things are fresh and y'all are looking into each other's eyes while slowly falling in love, you don't see the red flags or we ignore them, because love is a strong emotion that can make the strongest person weak. We take people at face value in the beginning. All we know is what they tell us and show us at that time. People don't come with warning labels, and there's no way to tell if they are being real or fake. Only time will tell that. After a minute though, that mask comes off. Now you see who you are really dealing with. Whether they are controlling, jealous, confrontational, or just spiteful. But once feelings are involved, some people get caught in a web that's hard to get out of. Either they feel they can change the person or they are scared to leave. So they just play by their rules, even if it's toxic or dangerous. It's an old saying, good girls like bad boys. For some strange reason, some young ladies can come from an amazing upbringing. Mother and father married for years, nice home, full of love, put up in a nice part of town, but some way they still find their way to the trenches and want to be with a shooter or dope boy, not knowing the consequences of excitement, and what they think is fun can cost them everything, possibly even their life. And on this episode of Hood Tales, we'll be taking it to Birmingham, Alabama to discuss the case of a man who thought his girl ran off with some money and pried up, so he sent the hit from jail. Back in the summer of 2020, 24-year-old Raven Swain was navigating life in the Magic City, Birmingham, Alabama. Described as a sweet girl, bubbly, outgoing, who loved life. She came from a loving family and had a big brother who had done good for himself. He was an actor and model on a TV show, and he loved his little sister. Raven, also ambitious and talented, wasn't far behind. She had a good job, working at UAB as a sterile tech, and had dreams of being a traveling tech, going all over the world to different hospitals. The young lady seemed to have her head on straight, but the only downside, she was attracted to bad boys. Beautiful, independent, raised on good principles and morals, but when Raven found herself in a relationship with a young man, also in his 20s, DeMarcus Chandler, it made her question everything she knew. DeMarcus had a total different upbringing than Raven. As a young man trying to survive the Birmingham streets, he did what he had to do, robbing, hustling, which would lead to him being in the system at an early age. By the time him and Raven met, he was all in and had made a name for himself in the Birmingham streets. They instantly clicked, even though they came from two different backgrounds. At first, DeMarcus treated her good, even though Raven's family didn't see it and wasn't feeling the young man, but she was in love. But things quickly got shaky when DeMarcus showed a different side. He would often try to control Raven. He wanted her to pick up the phone on the first ring or answer texts right away. And when she didn't, he would start making threats, telling her, like, B, don't play with me, or little girl, don't make me hurt you. It was signs of physical violence as well, and it seemed Raven had bit off a little bit more than she could chew. Even when she tried to pull back from DeMarcus, he would pull up to the family home, make threats, and if he didn't get Raven's attention that way, he would sometimes get more active, even go around the corner and let off shots. One time, even shooting at the house, grazing her 13-year-old sister. In one event, the family was outside at a get-together when shots was fired, hitting Raven's car. So in 2019, realizing things had got beyond toxic and out of her control, Raven filed a domestic report against DeMarcus. Her mother, family, and friends thought that was that, and that she had dodged a bullet. But the young lady was in love, and it seemed she had Stockholm Syndrome. Secretly, her and DeMarcus would text, still see each other in secret, and often tell each other how much they was in love, and it wasn't for nobody else to understand. All the way up until he got locked up for a parole violation. While in jail, fighting, he turned to the only person he trusted, Raven, to handle the business in the streets. He left her access to his money and product and expected her to make plays and keep everything afloat. But just like when he was free, DeMarcus still wanted control. He would tell her, "You better answer my calls," even when she was at work. And if she missed a beat, he would call her out her name and say, "Keep playing. You might as well get life insurance." By the summer of 2020, DeMarcus felt Raven was stealing from him product and money, in total $8,000. He asked her about it, and even though she denied it, he felt she was playing games. But he kept Raven close with bad intentions. DeMarcus wanted her to know that she was his, and even from jail, he was still in charge. So on July 28th, 2020, when he called her and told her he needed her to go make a play, she thought nothing of it. The location she was headed to was Underwood Park in Birmingham. DeMarcus tracked her every move and told her to wait at the park for the cell to come through. While Raven waited, shots went off, and neighbors who heard the commotion called local police. When they responded to the scene, they found Raven suffering from a gunshot wound, slumped in the driver's seat of her car, and unfortunately, she would pass away at the scene. Police were surprised to see her family and friends show up at the park because no one was notified yet, but they claimed they got text messages and calls from Raven's boyfriend, DeMarcus, telling everyone, "Yeah, Raven is gone. Y'all B-words sleep, and y'all friend in the park slumped over." Even minutes after the incident, DeMarcus made a post that the family showed police, saying God forgives, but Papa don't. This made police feel like DeMarcus was behind the event, even from jail. A search of Raven's phone revealed text messages, threats, and him directing her to go make that play. As the family was left to grieve, they were devastated, including Raven's brother, who couldn't believe she was gone. They all thought she was done with DeMarcus. Police had witness statements, but they needed evidence. A lieutenant at the jail he was at was instructed to hit his cell and search for contraband. Inside, they found multiple cell phones, and inside the phones was shocking evidence. Text messages between him and another man, with DeMarcus sending him play-by-play of Raven's location, all the way until she pulled up to the park. The man identified as Solomon Menati texted him back, like, "Done, bro, I need that bread," and sent him his cash app. The evidence was shocking, and with that, Solomon was picked up, charged with capital hit and other charges as well. And DeMarcus was hit with capital hit and what was now a hit for hire plot. But DeMarcus wasn't finished yet. While awaiting trial, the lieutenant who searched his cell and took his cell phone's house was shot up, and police was able to trace the incident back to DeMarcus. The young man again calling shots from jail. So now he was hit with even more charges. As the case started making its way to trial, the evidence against the man was overwhelming. Over 300 messages, texts, and direct messages to Raven's family through social media, multiple threats and posts. As her mother and others testified, he showed no emotion, even smirked, facing the ultimate punishment. And as the jury sat and listened, they came back with a verdict. They found DeMarcus guilty on all charges, and he was sentenced to be executed for his crimes. Solomon, the alleged trigger man, is still awaiting his day in court. Raven's mother spoke out after the verdict and stated even though Raven is gone and nothing can bring her back, she knew she was smiling down now that she had justice. Rest in peace to Raven. I send my prayers and condolences to her family. This is a crazy situation and a prime example of how some people really be trapped in love. They feel there's no way out. I'm sure for her, the relationship started off exciting and fun. Good girl with a bad boy, until she realized this is dangerous. But by that time, she was in too deep and under DeMarcus' control and feared for her life. But I'm going to leave this one open for discussion. Y'all let me know what y'all think about the situation. Leave it in the comments. And remember, we gotta succeed, not to fail. So we won't be just another hood tale. Yeah, man, this is a super crazy story. Rest in peace, that young lady. I definitely send my prayers to her family. But I ain't gonna talk too much more about this one. Y'all leave it in the comments. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. Y'all already know it's all love, fam. This another episode of Hood Tales. It's your boy Tony 2 times. What's going on, YouTube, fam? It's your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of Hood Tales, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. It's free. It helps get the video out there. Definitely watch this video to the end so you can hear the full story and all the details in the case. For my day one fam, y'all already know it's all love. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. If you're new to the channel and you feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Definitely hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Oh yeah, feel free to share the channel with your peoples. Everybody is welcome. With that being said, let's get right into the story. As a parent, most of us want to give our kids the best life possible. We go out here, work hard to make sure we can provide a roof over their heads, food on the table, clothes on their backs, and last but not least, we teach and guide them as they get older so they can come out here into the world ready with the tools to be able to stand on their own. Some people, unfortunately though, don't have that. Whether their parents struggled when they were growing up, they were in foster care, a parent passed away early on, or because their parents was just too focused on what they had going on that they let their kids raise themselves. While that kind of upbringing can definitely affect you and cause trauma, it's still debatable if that makes you stronger and able to go out here and never look back. Because an individual like that doesn't have their parents or family to fall back on. So you gotta survive for self. On the other hand, some parents have an open door policy. You can always come back home. If life gets too hard, you fall short or struggle, you can go to your parents' house to shake back and get back on your feet. While that is definitely a blessing and a respectable thing for the parents to never turn their back on their child or leave them out in the cold, at exactly what age should that stop? Sometimes, as a grown man or woman, we become focused on how we want life to go, how we want things to run. You might want your privacy or just to relax. That's why we pay bills for our own space. But what happens when you have that sense of entitlement living with your parents? And on this episode of Hood Tales, we'll be taking it right outside of Atlanta to Cobb County, Georgia, to discuss the case of an entitled son who snapped because he wanted to be left alone in his parents' house. Earlier this month, 72-year-old Ms. Monica Brookkins and her long-term partner, 73-year-old Mr. John Wells, were enjoying their later years in life. Just a few years prior, the couple had relocated from California, came south, moved to Georgia for a little more of a quiet and laid-back lifestyle. They landed right outside of Atlanta in a quiet suburb of Powder Springs, Georgia, where neighbors in the community took kindly to the older couple, who always seemed happy and in a friendly mood. The two originally met in college back in the day, but they lost contact for a few years. After they reconnected, it was love at first sight, and ever since then, they were glued at the hip. Miss Monica, always willing to help and very smart, didn't hesitate to show up for her new community. She served on the HOA board, and everybody loved the sweet older woman throughout the subdivision. Mr. John also got along with everyone as well. Either outside in the yard or doing something with his car, he was always happy to see his neighbors and strike up a conversation. The couple shared the daughter together, but she was grown and out on her own. But Miss Monica had a son from a previous relationship, 31-year-old Martin Dewberry. Not much is known about Martin, other than the fact he was going through some things, tough times, and struggled to get on his feet. But his mother and stepfather welcomed the man into their home with open arms. At first, everything seemed smooth. He got along with his stepfather, Mr. John, who always treated him like a son. and his mother just wanted him to feel at home, at least until he was able to get his own place. It was a family vibe, dinners, conversations. Martin even had his own space in the house. But being grown, living with your parents, was affecting the man, who started getting irritated and wanted to be left alone. His mother and stepfather just chucked his attitude up with him being frustrated with life and his position. On December 6th of this month, it was a special day for the couple. Excited, it was John's birthday. They had plans to go out on the town to celebrate. They left home to go hang out, leaving Martin with the house all to himself, which made him very happy. He could finally be alone. But being up in age, Miss Monica and Mr. John didn't stay out as long as Martin thought. They called him and stated they were on their way home. When they pulled back up to the house later that evening, the couple had been out having a good time, and they were all smiles. They walked through the front door when multiple shots went off. Minutes later, 911 received a call. It was Martin on the other end. He calmly told the operator, "I shot my parents. You better get here before they pass away." As local police responded to the home, Martin came outside with his hands raised in the air and surrendered without a fight. Police went inside of the home to find both Miss Monica and Mr. John suffering from multiple gunshot wounds, and unfortunately, neither one would survive their injuries. When Martin was asked why did he shoot, why did he do that to his parents, he stated because he didn't want to be bothered and wanted to be left alone. He claimed they were supposed to be gone all day, and he was mad they came back home early. He was charged with 2 counts of first-degree hit, also multiple counts of assault. As the community heard about what happened, people couldn't believe the nice older couple were gone. Neighbors spoke out on how nice they were, how they was always smiling, willing to help anybody, and they couldn't believe their own son, who they opened their doors to, was responsible. I'm not sure if Martin was a little bit off, but his sense of entitlement is crazy. You get mad because your older parents in their 70s came back home to their house early where they pay the bills at, and then you ambush them as soon as they walk through the door because you wanted to be alone. The crazy part is, he did that. Now you sitting over a loud, dirty jail where nobody is never quiet, banging, kicking on the door late at night, a cellmate. You probably will never be alone again. Rest in peace to Miss Monica and Mr. John. I send my prayers and condolences to their loved ones. To make it 70 years in this world and to lose your life to your own child for only trying to help him is terrible. I want to ask y'all a question, fam. As a parent, do you think you should always have an open door policy for your child? Or do you think it comes a time and age you just got to show tough love and tell them they got to stand on their own and can't come back home? Let me know in the comments. And remember, we got to succeed, not to fail, so we won't be just another hood tale. Yeah, man, that's a terrible story. Rest in peace to Miss Monica and Mr. John. I definitely send my prayers to their family. But I ain't gonna talk too much more about this one. Y'all leave it in the comments. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. Be sure to tap that like button. This is another episode of Hood Tales. It's your boy Tony 2 times. Love, fam. I'm out.
It's your girl, Mrs. Tony 2 times, and I'm back with another episode of Hood Tales. In this video, let's take it to Columbus, Ohio, to tell the story of how a family's Easter gathering back in 2010 took a fatal turn after a fight over an outfit. But before we get into this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Turn your notifications on so you don't miss any future uploads. Also, this video is sponsored by me, Mrs. Tony 2 times, and my YouTube channel. Make sure you check it out. Look out for the link to it in the comments. Stay tuned until the end to hear the full story. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Danielle Pickkins was just 19 years old, a young woman full of life, personality, and style. To her family and friends, She was Danny, a sweet and caring soul who loved to look good and feel confident in the clothes she wore. Danielle had once been a bit of a tomboy, but as she grew older, her style evolved. The first time she tried on more feminine and flattering clothing, like short skirts, she realized it made her feel good, and from then on, she embraced it. Her outfits became a part of who she was, comfortable, expressive, and unapologetic. At family gatherings and holidays, Danielle showed up as her authentic self, and everyone who knew her knew this about her. But while almost everyone accepted her for who she was, one person in her family seemed to have a harder time with it. Her older cousin, Evelyn Burgess. To Danielle and her sister Relinda, Evelyn was more than just a cousin. She was Aunt Ev, someone who felt like a matriarchal figure in their lives, someone they looked up to. Their families were close-knit, almost like siblings raising children together. But underneath the surface, tensions were brewing. Evelyn was 42 at the time, hosting family Easter gatherings at her home in Columbus, Ohio. She was married with a husband present at most of these events. According to relatives, Evelyn sometimes grew uncomfortable with the way Danielle dressed, especially around her husband. On Easter Sunday in April of 2010, the Pickkins family gathered once again at Evelyn's house on Manchester Avenue. Danielle arrived in jean shorts and a green t-shirt tied up at the waist, an outfit she lightly thought nothing of, but one that Evelyn considered disrespectful for the occasion. According to family members, Evelyn's feelings escalated quickly. She accused Danielle of flaunting her looks and grew enraged, believing her husband might have been paying attention to the teenager. What started as a disagreement over clothing spiraled into something much darker. Family members recall a heated fight breaking out inside the home. Evelyn lashed out physically, striking Danielle and even wielding a baseball bat at one point. Relatives tried to separate them, and Relinda, Danielle's sister, managed to get Danielle outside toward the car, ready to leave and put the situation behind them. But Evelyn wasn't finished. Fueled by anger and jealousy, she broke free, grabbed a .38 caliber firearm, and followed them out. As Danielle sat in the passenger seat, trying to shield herself under her sister, Evelyn yanked her by the hair and pulled the trigger, striking Danielle once in her head. The family was left in shock. Evelyn calmly walked back inside, placed the .38 on the mantle, and told those around her what she had done, saying, quote, "I killed the bitch." She then sat down and waited for police. When officers arrived, Evelyn admitted to the shooting. She later told investigators that she didn't mean for it to happen, that she only grabbed the weapon to prove a point. Meanwhile, Danielle was at the hospital fighting for her life. But despite life-saving measures, she was pronounced gone at 2 a.m. the following day. Evelyn Burgess, Danielle's big cousin, the woman she called Aunt Ev, was charged with her slaying and received a $500,000 bond. Despite Evelyn's claims to investigators that she didn't mean to pull the trigger, prosecutors painted a very different picture. In their eyes, this was no accident. This was an eruption of unchecked anger, jealousy, and rage. In November 2010, Evelyn Burgess pleaded guilty to one count of slaying Danielle Pickkins with a firearm specification. The judge sentenced her to 18 years to life in prison, 15 years for the crime itself, plus an additional 3 years for the use of the firearm. She is currently serving her sentence at the Ohio Reformatory for Women and will be eligible for parole in 2028. Evelyn's jealousy and anger blinded her. Instead of addressing her feelings in a healthier way, she turned them into physical rage against her own family. The courtroom heard Evelyn apologize, saying, "I'm sorry," but could never fully capture her remorse. For Danielle's loved ones, no apology could ever make sense of what happened. May Danielle Marie Danny Pickkins continue to rest in peace. My belated condolences to her family and loved ones. I send them my well wishes. Looking back, the tragedy of that Easter Sunday is rooted in something that should have never gone so far. A young woman lost her future, and a family was torn apart, all because of one person's insecurities and rage. This story is a haunting reminder of how unchecked emotions can lead to irreversible consequences. Anger, jealousy, resentment, when bottled up and allowed to explode, can destroy not only lives, but entire families. At its heart, this isn't just the story of an argument over clothes. It's the story of a young woman whose life was cut short, and of a family left to live with the scars of one moment of rage that changed everything forever. Fam, I'm going to leave the rest up to you. I would love to hear your thoughts on this story. Let me know in the comments below. All right, fam, that's it for this episode of Hood Tales. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, consider liking and sharing. Subscribe for more stories like this and for the stories behind the headlines, because behind them all are lives forever changed. This is your girl, Mrs. Tony Two Times. Until next time.
What's going on, YouTube, fam? This your boy Tony Two Times, and we back with another episode of Hood Tales, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. It's free. It helps get the video out there. Definitely watch this video to the end to hear the full story and all the details in the case. For my day one fam, y'all already know it's all love. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. If you're new to the channel and you feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Tap that notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Oh yeah, feel free to share the channel with your peoples. Everybody is welcome. With that being said, let's get right into the story. For a lot of people, we learn experience is the best teacher in life. For example, maybe at one time you were loyal to everybody around you. You had a big circle, was the one who was looking out for everybody, showing genuine love. Only for something to happen, and the same people you thought you were locked in with turned their backs on you or crossed you. It can cause pain, but you live and learn. And you start moving different, maybe focusing more on yourself, moving alone, because you now know through experience people are fake and phony. But when you are young in the mix, it's nothing better than being in the in crowd in your mind. To be able to pick up that phone, make some phone calls, and seeing what's the move for the night. But while you kicking it with your friends, thinking it's all love, you really are going off what you feel. We never step back and ask ourselves, I wonder how bro really feel about me. Some people hang with each other every day, and it's jealousy, envy, hate, secret competition, all in the mix. Behind them smiles, people be having whole other agendas and feelings. But some people rather deal with that than be alone. Loners are considered boring, too quick to cut a person off, especially if it costs them their peace. They go left when the crowd goes right. They are not pressed for validation or friendship because a lot of times they've been down that road before. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, the ones closest to you are the ones that can hurt you the most. And on this episode of Hood Tales, we'll be taking it to Chicago, Illinois to discuss the case of a man who linked with his homies to smoke and got backdoored on a Chicago block. Back in 2023, 20-year-old Jeremiah Prockler was a young man trying to navigate life in the Windy City. Described by his peoples as loving, caring, loyal, and respectful. With those kind of character traits, Jeremiah had no shortage on friends and associates. He lived in the Dearborn Homes, a public housing development located on South State Street in Chicago. The area was heavily populated, and Jeremiah was well known. He had a homie who lived in the same building. At the time, 25-year-old Quentin Buchanan. The two had knew each other for a little minute and were neighbors. Quentin was also known in the area, and the two often were together and ran in the same circle. On November 7th, 2023, it was a cold fall day and a shot. Jeremiah and a few of his guys decided they would step outside and smoke behind one of the buildings. A few minutes later, Quentin walked up wearing a face mask and a hoodie, but everybody knew who it was. As they all greeted him, he sat on some steps close by. Then seconds later, he got up. As Jeremiah turned back around to keep smoking, a shot went off, and the young man was shot in the back of his head. Quentin then allegedly shot everybody by reaching over his homie, grabbing the blunt he was smoking, and started smoking it and walked off. Jeremiah's homies ran for help. When police arrived to the 2900 block of South State Street, they found Jeremiah suffering from a gunshot wound to the back of his head, and unfortunately, he was pronounced gone on the scene. His two homies who was outside with him also knew Quentin very well, as they grew up with him. They pointed to him as the shooter. They stated he walked up like it was a normal day, said it was up to everybody, and shot Jeremiah. Cameras in the area also caught some of the incident. After the shooting, Quentin ran to his mother's house. He knocked on the door and told his family members he had just killed somebody, let him in. But instead of opening the door, his mother called police. By the time they got to the home, Quentin was MIA though. Back in the building, Jeremiah's family had got the news and were devastated. They were able to look at footage and identify Quentin as the shooter and their neighbor. They stated the men were cool. They couldn't think of a reason he would do something like that because it wasn't any known beef. As a few hours went by, CPD got a tip that Quentin was at the 95th Street Red Line station. When they pulled up, he fled the location. With police on his heels, the man didn't make it far though, and he was caught just 3 blocks away wearing nothing but his boxers. Quentin was taken into custody, charged with first-degree hit, weapon violations, and robbery for taking the blunt Jeremiah was smoking. Jeremiah's family started a GoFundMe for the young man. They described the incident as a senseless act of violence, stating their family member's life was cut short by a friend and neighbor. Even though multiple people identified Quentin as the shooter and he was charged, doing all my research, I couldn't find any updates on the case, whether or not he was sentenced or the charges were dropped. As of now, he is innocent until proven guilty. He never gave a reason on why he allegedly shot Jeremiah. Either way, rest in peace to Jeremiah. I send my prayers and condolences to his family. 20 years old to lose your life in the area you are comfortable in, around friends you trust, doing something as simple as smoking is terrible. A lot of people pointed to the fact Quentin took the blunt, indicating Jeremiah probably owed him something. But friends of both of the men stated that wasn't the case at all, and it was normal around there for everybody to link up and smoke, even with Quentin. Unfortunately, sometimes people can hang around you every day and be jealous, have animosity, or simply just don't like you. I'm a firm believer in the more company you keep around, the more problems you start to have. You even start to take on other people's problems, and it can definitely interfere with your peace and focusing on yourself. But at 20 years old, you are just living life, having fun. You really don't understand that yet. But I'm gonna leave this one open for discussion. Y'all let me know what y'all think about the situation. And have you yourself ever had to cut off a friend or fall back because they seemed sneaky, like a snake, or was giving backdoor vibes? Let me know your experiences in the comments. And remember, We gotta succeed, not to fail. So we won't be just another hood tale. Yeah, man, it's a super crazy story. Rest in peace, that young man. I definitely send my prayers to his family. But I ain't gonna talk too much more about this one. Y'all leave it in the comments. Tap that like button if you feeling the content. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. This is another episode of Hood Tales. It's your boy Tony 2 times. Love, fam. I'm out.